With over 21 years of experience in a portfolio of over 1,000 projects, this company provides custom electromechanical and software solutions for the medical device industry. Let me introduce Sterling Medical Devices. Hey guys, and welcome to one more episode of Builder Nation. For today's interview, we have Dan Sterling, founder and president of the company focused on developing solutions that save lives. So welcome, Dan. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining Builder Nation today.
No, thank you for having me. So I'm Dan Sterling. I founded Sterling Medical Devices. At the time it was called Sterling Tech in 1998. I'm not sure how much you want to hear about my background versus the company. At this point in my career, the company is me. I'm an electrical engineer by training, but I had a heavy software interest. So that's kind of the direction I went for my career. I started off in aerospace. I worked in things like flight controls. Then I migrated into medical devices in the mid-90s and then started my own company in 98. It's been fun. When I first started Sterling Medical, it was just me. I was basically contracting, and I worked for other companies, like a company that later became Boston Scientific. At the time it was called Guidant, and another company in the Houston area called Intermedics. At the time, they were the third largest pacemaker and defibrillator company. Actually, that was fortunate because as I grew my company, people at Intermedics, the company was sold and a lot of people left Intermedics. So over the years, actually, some of my greatest employees came from Intermedics, and some of our greatest client relationships came from people that were at Intermedics. It was a nice relationship.
Wow, thank you for sharing. Interesting background. Okay, so you are an engineer and you had some experience in other companies, but why jump in and build your own?
Well, that came out of probably a healthy disrespect for larger companies, at least working for larger companies. I had some experiences early in my career. I was never let go from a company, but I saw companies letting other employees go for various reasons. And I thought that perhaps I could do a better job of recruiting and retaining employees. And actually, I can say that I have done a better job. I really like to find great people and keep them for their careers. It's worked out quite well. Not everybody, but quite a few. I have a really great team. I'm very proud of them and proud of the fact that they stuck with me this long.
Yeah, I agree totally. I think the key is having a great team, and especially when you're starting the company. I wanted to ask you, I heard that you guys had a recent merge with RBC Medical Innovation. Could you talk a little bit about it?
Sure. So Sterling itself is 25 years old. We're able to work full systems for medical devices, including software, mechanical, electronics, industrial design, and we've added regulatory services. The most recent service we added was industrial design and user interfaces and user experience. And then in February, we just merged with RBC Medical. And RBC is a lot like us in many ways. They have a great deal of engineering expertise. They're a little more focused. They've got a great deal of expertise in energy delivery devices like RF ablation. And one of the big keys is they do also manufacture, which is something Sterling Medical has never done. We usually partner with contract manufacturers or clients' manufacturing departments, and we transfer our designs to them when we're done. But now with RBC, a great deal of beginning to end services for the medical device industry.
Since you have been a lot of years here, what would you say has been the hardest relationship to build? Like, how was that experience?
So I understand that your audience is a lot of entrepreneurs. So I'll introduce one little piece of advice here, which is to try and figure out what you're good at and what you're not good at. And if there's something that you're not good, then you either need to figure out how to make it better or you need to get help. So one of the very first things I did was I was building a small team, and I reached out to one of my long-term partners / employees, Bruce Swope, who I had worked for at Intermedics. And I reached out to him for a testimonial. I was building a website, and I found out he was available to work. Fortunately for me, the company he was working for was acquired. And so we always joke about it. He said, well, I'll help, until something better comes along. And that was about 20 years ago. But Bruce came on to help me sell in the beginning. He's a great engineering VP as well, but he really had sales capabilities. And I didn't. That was my weakness. I really couldn't figure out I didn't like to hear no. A lot of engineers don't like to hear no. And you got to be able to hear the word no a lot when you try to solicit new business. And Bruce did a great job. So he was the one that established some of our first relationships and got the second and third job in those early days.
Could you talk a little bit about the medical device projects? I was reading that you guys have the guided surgery system, and I was like, wow, this is really impressive. You have a lot of services that you guys are providing, and I'm curious to ask about it.
We do projects for our clients. We don't, in the end, own the product. So yes, we've done work on guided surgery systems. We've done work on preoperative planning tools, which are just mostly software, for example. We've done work on what they call power injectors. So just all kinds of projects, both software only and software and electronics integrated mechanical systems.
And what about the next steps for the company? Are you guys planning on expanding or building another partnership anytime soon?
Yeah, so we're going to continue expanding our services, both the breadth of our engineering services, but also of our capability in terms of what types of medical devices we can produce. Yeah, I hope to be making some new announcements even yet this year. So stay tuned.
Excited for that as well. Okay, and I wanted to ask you, where do you see the future of this industry going?
Well, that's a good question. You've got to be able to serve more people with, I'll say, less money per person. A lot of countries, what they spend on medical is becoming squeezed. So you have to figure out how to give people better service at less cost. And a lot of times that means they're looking to treat people outside the hospitals. So there's a whole area of point of care. You probably know that there's a lot of emphasis on wearables. So devising systems that people can wear around and upload data to the cloud and have some kind of analysis done, application of AI and notify clinicians if something's going on, that kind of thing. We've built systems like that already, and I think that's going to accelerate. As much as we can leverage clinicians and keep patients out of the high-cost venues like hospitals. And even if we can keep them out of the doctor's office longer, it's probably better. I think that's the direction, is trying to find more cost-effective and yet high-quality ways to diagnose and treat people.
Thank you for sharing. That's going to be definitely interesting. And okay, let's go back a little bit. I wanted to ask you, was it hard in order to find the perfect or the ideal product market fit?
That's probably the benefit and the downside of being an engineer. Engineers tend to do what they know how to do. Don't pay as much attention to the market. We felt that we could offer, in the beginning, it was software-only services. So we established our marketing and our website and tried to find clients that needed software for medical device development. And there's a little bit of luck there. We found people that needed that service. And then we expanded from there. We ran into projects that maybe the hardware wasn't as good as it could have. And we learned that when that happens, a lot of times they depend on the software to kind of patch things up. And we said, well, you know what? We could probably do a better job working on the hardware. So we added those hardware services so that we didn't end up at the end of a project trying to create Band-Aids in software quite as much. So it was really kind of an evolution of our understanding of the market. And now we've got a full suite of services, so it's been great.
One of the last questions that I wanted to ask you, Dan, most of the times whenever we talk with founders or CEOs, they are super involved in the procurement process. How is that like for you?
So because we have been historically a development shop as opposed to manufacturing, our procurement has not been as big of a problem. So I really haven't been that deeply involved. We have people, sometimes the engineers get involved, but we do have a couple of people that work on procurement, but it's really for the development phase only. So it's small quantities, and oftentimes we can take what we can find as opposed to having to have very specific parts. Now that we have joined with RBC and they are manufacturing, I can see it's a much larger problem. I know that they've been through a difficult time with the supply chain issues that the world had. I think they are coming out of that somewhat, but they still have a great team in place that works those problems every day. And I know that's getting a fair amount of attention from upper management as well. But it's not something I've had to deal with personally.
You're lucky, I have to say. But I'm pretty sure that you have other problems, as founder and CEO. I think every day you must be wearing a lot of hats.
Well, that's definitely true. I think when the company is very young, you're wearing all the hats. And slowly over time, you get rid of the hats. Now with the merger with RBC, we've been filling our management team. So I find myself with less and less hats every day. Now we have senior financial people and senior HR people. It's great to have that help. It's taken a long time to get, but here we are.
And last but not least, Dan, do you have any advice for future entrepreneurs starting on this path?
I guess my biggest advice to anyone trying to get anything done in life is persistence. You have to believe in what you're doing and stay with it. That's probably the biggest thing. We already talked about teamwork, how important the team is. That's certainly been true for me. I wouldn't be where I am today, or the company wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for the great team. So I guess that's another piece of advice. Focus on doing great hiring, get the right people on.
Thank you for sharing that as well. Thank you so much, Dan, for being here. Do you have any social media handles? Where can people find you or the company?
Mostly through the website, so sterlingmedicaldevices.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And remember, guys, that you can also find more information, interesting articles, interesting interviews, just like the one with Dan, directly on our website, controlhub.com/builder-nation. We would love to hear from you. And once again, Dan, thank you so much for taking the time and for joining the podcast today.
My pleasure. Thank you.